Andromeda. High in the northern sky lies Andromeda, named after the mythical Ethiopian princess who was chained to a rock as a sacrifice to a sea monster. According to legend, she was rescued by the hero Perseus, and the gods immortalized her in the stars. But this constellation holds more than mythology. It's home to the Andromeda Galaxy, our Milky Way's closest galactic neighbor, and the most distant object visible to the naked eye. With around 1 trillion stars, it actually contains about twice as many as the Milky Way. Even more fascinating, Andromeda is on a slow 4 billion year crash course with our galaxy. One day, the two will merge into a single enormous elliptical galaxy, Aquarius. Aquarius is one of the oldest known constellations, appearing in Babylonian star maps over 3,000 years ago. In Greek mythology, it represents Ganymede, a beautiful youth chosen by Zeus to serve as cupbearer to the gods. Despite its watery symbolism, Aquarius doesn't shine brightly, but it plays a major role in the night sky, especially during meteor shower season. Each year in May, Earth passes through debris left by Halley's Comet, producing the Eta Aquariids, which seem to radiate from Aquarius. That's right, this quiet constellation is the source of some of the sky's most graceful fireballs, Aries. Small but significant, Aries represents the golden ram from Greek mythology, whose fleece became the prize of Jason and the Argonauts. It's one of the 12 zodiac constellations, marking the point of the vernal equinox in ancient times, where the sun crossed the celestial equator in spring. Though due to the wobble of Earth's axis, that spot has shifted, Aries still holds symbolic power as the constellation of new beginnings. Interesting detail. Despite being a zodiac sign, Aries is actually one of the dimmer constellations, with only a few stars easily visible. Auriga. Auriga is Latin for charioteer, and the mythology varies. Sometimes it's Erichthonius, the crippled inventor of the 4-horse chariot, placed in the sky by Zeus. But beyond the myth lies a stunning feature, Capella, Auriga's brightest star, and the 6th brightest in the entire night sky. It's actually a pair of giant stars locked in a tight orbital dance, 43 light-years away. Auriga also dazzles with open star clusters like M36, M37, and M38, offering a treasure trove of stars for anyone with a telescope. Botas. This ancient constellation represents a herdsman chasing the Great Bear across the sky. The myth? It's vague. Some say he invented the plow. Others link him to Aquarius, who introduced wine to humans. What really makes Botas shine is Arcturus, a fiery orange giant, and the 4th brightest star in the sky. At just 37 light-years away, it's racing through space at over 120 kilometers per second, much faster than most stars in our neighborhood. When you spot Arcturus, you're seeing a future version of what our sun will one day become. Cancer. Cancer, the crab, might be one of the faintest zodiac constellations, but its mythology packs a punch. In Greek legend, Cancer was sent by Hera to distract Heracles during his battle with the Hydra. The crab didn't last long. Heracles crushed it, but it earned a place in the stars for its loyalty. What Cancer lacks in brightness, it makes up for in depth. Nestled within it is the Beehive Cluster, also known as Prasepe, a dense swarm of stars that ancient astronomers saw as a little cloud. It's one of the closest open clusters to Earth, just about 600 light-years away, and visible even with binoculars. Canis Major, Latin for the greater dog. Canis Major loyally follows the hunter Orion across the sky. In mythology, it represents one of Orion's hunting dogs, always at his heel. But the true star, literally, is Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky. Also known as the dog star, Sirius shines so intensely because it's both close, just 8.6 light-years away, and twice as massive as our sun. In ancient Egypt, the annual rising of Sirius in the dawn sky signaled the flooding of the Nile and the start of a new year, Canis Minor. The lesser dog is easy to miss. Just 2 main stars define this constellation, but one of them, Procyon, is a celestial heavyweight. Procyon is the 8th brightest star in the night sky, and forms one corner of the winter triangle with Sirius and Betelgeuse. Its name means before the dog, because it rises just before Sirius in the northern hemisphere. Despite its size, Canis Minor is steeped in the same loyal dog myth as Canis Major, often seen as Orion's second hunting companion, Capricornus. Capricornus, or Capricorn, is the sea goat, a creature with the head of a goat and the tail of a fish. Strange? Definitely. But it reflects ancient Mesopotamian beliefs about gods that ruled both land and sea. Though it's one of the zodiac signs, Capricornus is fairly faint. Still, it has history. Its name has been used in astronomy for over 2,000 years, and the sun's southernmost point each year is still called the Tropic of Capricorn. Look for it in late summer skies. It forms a triangle that gently hugs the horizon, Cassiopeia. Cassiopeia is hard to miss. Her iconic W or M-shaped pattern, depending on your angle, cuts through the northern sky year-round. In mythology, she's the vain queen who bragged too much about her beauty and got herself and her daughter Andromeda in serious trouble. Beyond the drama, Cassiopeia is a hotspot for deep-sky objects. It's home to supernova remnants like Cassiopeia A, one of the strongest radio sources in the sky, caused by a massive star exploding roughly 11,000 years ago. It's also a favorite target for astrophotographers due to its rich star fields along the edge of the Milky Way. Centaurus. Centaurus is one of the largest and oldest constellations in the sky, representing a centaur, a half-man, half-horse creature from Greek mythology. It's often associated with Chiron, the wise and kind centaur who tutored heroes like Achilles and Hercules. What makes Centaurus especially impressive is that it contains Alpha Centauri, the closest star system to Earth, just 4.37 light-years away, and Proxima Centauri, the actual closest star to us after the Sun. It's also home to Omega Centauri, the largest known globular cluster, containing about 10 million stars packed into a spherical ball. Cepheus. Cepheus, king of Ethiopia and husband to Cassiopeia, may not look very royal. It's a dim constellation shaped like a simple house or crown. But don't underestimate it. Astronomers value Cepheus for containing Delta Cephei, a prototype of Cepheid variable stars, stars that pulse in brightness with such regularity that they've been used to measure distances across the galaxy. This humble constellation helped humanity discover just how vast the universe really is. Cetus. Cetus is the sea monster from Greek mythology, sent by Poseidon to devour Andromeda. Though Perseus slays the beast, it lives on in the stars as one of the largest constellations in the sky. Cetus is home to Mira, a red giant and one of the first variable stars ever discovered. Mira means wonderful, and it earns that name. It dramatically changes brightness over an 11-month cycle, disappearing from the sky and then reappearing like magic. It was so baffling to early astronomers that it challenged the idea that the heavens were unchanging. Corona Borealis. Latin for northern crown. Corona Borealis is a delicate arc of stars forming a near-perfect semicircle. In myth, it represents the jeweled crown given to Ariadne by Dionysus. Though small, the constellation is elegant and easy to spot in summer skies. Its standout star, Alphecca, is a bright white-blue light about 75 light-years away. Interesting fact, Corona Borealis occasionally hosts supernova imposters, eruptions that mimic supernova, offering clues into the life cycles of unstable stars. Corvus. Corvus, the crow, is a small southern constellation with roots in ancient Babylonian and Greek mythology. The Greeks told of a crow sent by Apollo to fetch water, but it returned late, lying about its delay. Apollo saw through the excuse and threw the crow, the cup, crater, and the water snake, Hydra, into the sky. Today, Corvus is recognized by its compact, boxy shape and 4 main stars. Though not bright, Corvus is home to NGC 4038 and 4039, better known as the Antennae galaxies, 2 galaxies locked in a slow-motion cosmic collision. Crater. Crater, the cup, is the celestial companion of Corvus and Hydra in an old Greek tale. As the myth goes, Crater was the cup carried by the crow Corvus to fetch water. When the crow failed in its task and lied about it, the gods punished all 3, casting them into the stars. Crater is a faint constellation, often overlooked, but it has an elegant arc of stars that forms the shape of a goblet. It may not contain any standout stars or galaxies, but its mythological link and distinctive shape make it a poetic part of the southern sky. Crux. Crux, or the Southern Cross, is one of the smallest constellations, but easily one of the most iconic in the southern hemisphere. For navigators, Crux has long been a guiding light. It points almost directly to the south celestial pole, making it the southern equivalent of the North Star. Its brightest star, Acrux, lies around 320 light-years away and is actually a multiple star system. Crux appears on flags, coins, and national emblems across the southern world, symbolizing exploration, navigation, and home. Cygnus. Cygnus, the swan, gracefully sweeps across the Milky Way, its wings stretching wide in the summer sky. In mythology, it's often linked to Zeus in disguise, or to a loyal friend mourning a fallen comrade. Its brightest star, Deneb, forms one point of the summer triangle, and is among the most luminous stars we can see, despite being over 2,600 light-years away. Cygnus is also home to Cygnus X1, one of the first suspected black holes ever discovered, a place where matter and light vanish into mystery. Delphinus. Delphinus, the dolphin, is a tiny but charming constellation, just off the path of the Milky Way. According to myth, it's the dolphin that helped the god Poseidon win the heart of Amphitrite. It's composed of 5 main stars forming a diamond shape, often called Job's Coffin. Though faint, Delphinus is easy to spot in dark skies during late summer. It contains several binary and variable stars and a few deep sky treasures, including planetary nebulae visible with moderate telescopes. Draco. Draco, the dragon, coils between the Big and Little Dippers, wrapping around the North Star. In mythology, Draco was a guardian, sometimes of golden apples, sometimes of sacred temples, who ended up immortalized in the sky after being slain by a hero. It's one of the largest constellations, and its winding shape makes it easy to trace once you spot its head near the Hercules constellation. Draco contains Theban, a star that served as a North Star around 2700 BCE, when the pyramids of Egypt were being built, a reminder that even the stars shift with time. Eridanus. Eridanus is one of the longest constellations in the sky, representing a mighty celestial river that winds from Orion all the way down to the southern hemisphere. In Greek mythology, it's associated with the river into which Phaethon, son of the sun god Helios, fell after losing control of his father's fiery chariot. Eridanus snakes through the sky with a trail of stars, and at its end lies Achernar. Fun fact, Achernar is spinning so fast that it's noticeably flattened at the poles, an extreme case of stellar speed wobble. Gemini. Gemini, Latin for twins, represents Castor and Pollux, legendary brothers from Greek mythology. One was mortal, the other divine, and when Castor died, Pollux begged Zeus to let them stay together forever. The result, both were placed in the heavens as twin stars. Castor and Pollux, the 2 brightest stars in the constellation, shine side by side in the winter sky. Pollux is the brighter of the 2 and a true giant star. Interestingly, Castor isn't a single star. It's a complex sextuple star system. Grus, the crane, is a modern constellation introduced by Dutch navigators in the late 16th century, reflecting the age of exploration. Unlike ancient constellations tied to myth, Grus is named after the elegant long-legged bird found in the southern hemisphere. It's a relatively faint group, but it hosts several galaxies and a beautiful double star named Alnair, its brightest point. Grus reminds us that not all constellations come from ancient myth. Some come from explorers mapping the southern skies for the very first time. Hercules. Hercules is the Greek hero of heroes, famous for completing 12 impossible labors, including slaying the Nemean lion and capturing Cerberus, the 3-headed hound of the underworld. In the sky, Hercules is represented by a kneeling figure with 1 foot stepping on the head of Draco the dragon. The constellation is home to M13, the Great Hercules Globular Cluster, a dazzling ball of hundreds of thousands of stars, packed tightly together about 25,000 light-years from Earth. It's one of the best deep-sky objects visible with even small telescopes. Hydra. Hydra is the largest constellation in the sky, stretching over 100 degrees across the heavens. It represents the multi-headed serpent slain by Hercules in one of his famous labors. Hydra slithers across the southern sky, with its head near Cancer and its tail trailing far past Libra. Despite its size, it's not particularly bright, but it's home to Alphard, its alpha star, whose name means the solitary one in Arabic, a fitting title for such a lone beacon in a sparse region of the sky. Indus. Indus is one of the lesser-known southern constellations, introduced in the late 16th century by Dutch navigators charting the skies of the southern hemisphere. It doesn't represent a mythological figure, but rather a generic Indian, as imagined by European explorers. Though faint, Indus includes several galaxies and deep-sky objects, and its position in the southern sky makes it a marker for explorers of the celestial south. Lacerta, Latin for the lizard. Lacerta is a small and faint northern constellation, nestled between better-known groups like Cygnus and Andromeda. It was created in the 17th century by Polish astronomer Johannes Hevelius, not from myth, but simply to fill in a gap in the sky. Despite its size, Lacerta lies along the plane of the Milky Way, which means it holds a number of star clusters and binaries visible with a telescope. It's quiet and unassuming, but a good reminder that even small patches of sky have stories and stars to tell. Leo. Leo, the lion, is one of the most easily recognized constellations and a prominent member of the zodiac. In Greek mythology, it represents the Nemean lion, a fearsome beast slain by Hercules. Its brightest star, Regulus, is a brilliant blue-white star only 79 light-years away, and it sits nearly directly on the ecliptic, the sun's yearly path through the sky. Leo also houses a trio of galaxies known as the Leo triplet, M65, M66, and NGC 3628, making it a favorite target for amateur astronomers in spring. Leo Minor. Tucked just above Leo is Leo Minor, the lesser lion. Unlike its bigger sibling, this constellation isn't tied to any mythological story. It was introduced in the 1600s by Hevelius to fill in some celestial blanks. It's a faint group of stars, but it contains 37 Leonis Minoris, an orange giant easily seen with binoculars, and NGC 3432, a starburst galaxy actively forming new stars. Leo Minor reminds us that not all constellations have grand tails. Some are simply quiet corners of the sky with their own quiet wonders. Lepus. Just beneath Orion's feet sits Lepus, the hare, forever fleeing the hunter in myth and in the sky. While it doesn't play a major role in ancient Greek stories, it may have originated from Egyptian mythology, where the hare was a symbol of rebirth. Lepus contains the globular cluster M79, a spherical collection of stars located about 41,000 light-years away. What's unusual is that M79 may not belong to the Milky Way at all. It could be a visitor from a dwarf galaxy long absorbed by ours. Libra. Libra, the scales, is the only zodiac constellation that represents an object rather than a living creature. In ancient Rome, it symbolized balance and justice, fitting as it sits next to Virgo, who is often portrayed as holding the scales. In older Babylonian traditions, Libra's stars were actually the claws of Scorpius, later reimagined by the Greeks as a separate constellation. Libra's brightest star, Zuben-el-Ganubi, translates from Arabic as the Southern Claw, a nod to its scorpion past. It's also a binary star system, visible even with a modest telescope. Lupus. Lupus, the wolf, lies near the southern horizon and dates back to ancient Greek times, though it wasn't always a wolf. In earlier cultures, it represented a generic wild beast, later named by the Romans. It's not very bright, but it sits in a richly populated area of the Milky Way, filled with deep sky objects. Lupus contains multiple young star clusters and OB associations, groups of hot massive stars born in stellar nurseries. It's a real-life example of how stars are born in packs, like the creature it represents. Lynx. Lynx is a faint northern constellation created in the 17th century by Hevelius. He named it Lynx not because it resembles a wildcat, but because you'd need the eyesight of a lynx to see it. Though it lacks bright stars, it makes up for it with hidden gems. It's home to UGC 3697, nicknamed the Integral Sign Galaxy for its warped S-like shape caused by galactic interaction. Lyra. Lyra, the lyre or harp, is linked to the myth of Orpheus, the legendary musician whose songs could charm even the gods. When he died, his lyre was placed in the sky by Zeus. Lyra's brightest star, Vega, is one of the most luminous stars in our neighborhood and a cornerstone of the Summer Triangle. Just 25 light-years away, Vega was once Earth's North Star, and will be again in about 12,000 years thanks to the Earth's axial precession. Lyra also hosts the Ring Nebula M57, a classic example of a planetary nebula, what our sun might look like at the end of its life. Mensa. Mensa is a small and faint constellation in the deep southern sky, created in the 18th century by French astronomer Nicolas Louis de Lacaille. Named after Table Mountain in South Africa, it was one of several new constellations added during his charting of the southern skies. It holds a special honor. It's home to part of the Large Magellanic Cloud, a satellite galaxy of the Milky Way. This makes Mensa one of the few constellations to host an entire galaxy in plain view. Despite its obscurity, Mensa offers a window into a whole other galactic system, just 160,000 light-years away. Microscopium. Microscopium, the microscope, is one of several modern constellations introduced in the 18th century by Nicolas Louis de Lacaille. It doesn't originate from myth, but rather from science, part of a series of constellations named after instruments used during the Age of Enlightenment. This southern constellation is faint and lacks any major stars brighter than magnitude 4, making it hard to spot without a dark sky and a star map. While Microscopium may not have eye-catching stars, its symbolic presence reflects a turning point in human history, when curiosity about the invisible shaped our understanding of the universe. Monoceros, Latin for unicorn. Monoceros is a faint constellation tucked between Orion and Hydra. Despite the magical name, Monoceros wasn't known to the ancients. It was added in the 17th century by Dutch astronomer Petrus Plancius. What it lacks in brightness, it makes up for in celestial riches. It lies along the Milky Way, containing a variety of nebulae, clusters, and binaries. Most notable is the Rosette Nebula, a beautiful star-forming region about 5,000 light-years away, resembling a blooming cosmic flower. Musca. Musca, the fly, is a small constellation in the southern hemisphere created by Dutch navigators in the late 1500s. It's one of the few insect-themed constellations, though originally it may have been paired with Chamaeleon as a bee and chameleon duo. Despite its size, it's home to fascinating celestial objects, including several dark nebulae and parts of the Coalsack Nebula, a dense cloud of gas and dust that blocks background stars. Its position near the Southern Cross makes it a familiar shape for southern stargazers exploring the Milky Way's southern arc. Norma. Norma, Latin for carpenter's square or level, is another constellation added by Lyra during his cataloging of the southern skies. Rather than drawing from myth, he honored the scientific instruments of his time. Norma is faint, but lies close to the thick band of the Milky Way. It contains a rich field of young star clusters, as well as NGC 6087, an open cluster that includes the Cepheid variable star S Normae, which helps astronomers measure cosmic distances. In the quiet southern skies, Norma serves as a subtle tribute to tools that shaped our understanding of geometry, engineering, and space. Octans. Octans may not be a household name, but it quietly holds a special place in the night sky. It's home to the South Celestial Pole, the southern sky's equivalent of the North Star's location. Unfortunately, Octans doesn't have a bright star near the pole. The closest, Sigma Octantis, is only of magnitude 5.5, barely visible to the naked eye. Octans was introduced by Lyra in honor of the octant, a navigation instrument used before the sextant. Its presence near the pole made it a vital reference for early southern explorers and astronomers. Ophiuchus. Ophiuchus, the serpent-bearer, stands tall between Scorpius and Sagittarius, holding a writhing snake, represented by the neighboring constellation Serpens. In mythology, Ophiuchus is often associated with Asclepius, the healer who learned the secret of resurrection from a serpent. Astronomically, it's noteworthy because the sun actually passes through Ophiuchus, making it an unofficial 13th zodiac constellation. Ophiuchus is rich in deep sky objects, especially globular clusters like M10 and M12. It also contains RS Ophiuchi, a recurring nova that periodically flares up in brightness, like a cosmic heartbeat. Orion. Orion, the hunter, is perhaps the most iconic constellation in the night sky. With his belt of three aligned stars, Alnitak, Alnilam, and Mintaka, and his bright shoulders and knees marked by Betelgeuse and Rigel, Orion dominates the winter skies. In myth, Orion was a mighty hunter, placed in the stars after his death, either from a scorpion's sting or the wrath of Artemis. Astronomically, Orion is a treasure trove. It hosts the Orion Nebula, M42, a massive stellar nursery just 1,300 light-years away, where new stars are born in clouds of glowing gas. Pavo. Pavo, the peacock, is a southern hemisphere constellation introduced by Dutch explorers in the late 16th century. It represents the sacred bird of Hera in Greek mythology and is known for its elegance. Its brightest star, Peacock, or Alpha Pavonis, is a hot blue-white star about 180 light-years away, forming part of the southern sky's southern birds group, along with Phoenix, Grus, and Tucana. Pavo is also home to NGC 6752, one of the brightest and most massive globular clusters, containing over 100,000 stars, densely packed in a luminous core. Pegasus. Pegasus, the winged horse of Greek mythology, was born from the blood of Medusa and became a symbol of speed and inspiration. In the sky, it's depicted by a large square, known as the Great Square of Pegasus, which serves as a guidepost in autumn skies. Though only half the horse is depicted, Pegasus is rich in galaxies and clusters. One standout is M15, a tightly packed globular cluster that's over 12 billion years old, among the oldest objects in our galaxy. Perseus. Perseus is the legendary hero who rescued Andromeda and slew Medusa. In the stars, he stands triumphant near Andromeda and Cassiopeia, sword in hand. His brightest star, Mirfak, leads a loose open cluster called the Alpha Persei cluster. But Perseus is also home to Algol, the demon star, one of the first eclipsing binaries discovered. Its brightness dims every few days as one star passes in front of the other. Fittingly, Perseus is also the radiant point for the Perseid meteor shower, one of the most spectacular showers of the year. Phoenix. Phoenix is a modern constellation named after the mythical firebird that cyclically dies and is reborn from its ashes. Introduced in the late 1500s by Dutch navigators, it symbolizes endurance and transformation. Its brightest star, Ankaia, means the phoenix in Arabic, and shines with a reddish hue about 85 light-years away. Though Phoenix is a relatively faint constellation, it's home to several radio galaxies and distant quasars, making it a hotspot for deep space observations in modern astronomy. Pictor. Pictor, the painter's easel, is another constellation introduced by Lyra in the 18th century to honor the tools of art and science. Though small and dim, it holds one of the most fascinating cosmic objects, Pictor A galaxy shooting out a jet of material over 300,000 light-years long from a supermassive black hole at its center, Pisces. Pisces, the fishes, is a zodiac constellation representing two fish tied together by a cord. In Greek mythology, they're said to be Aphrodite and her son Eros, transformed into fish to escape the monster Typhon. While its stars are faint, Pisces plays a key role in celestial history. It hosts the vernal equinox point, where the sun crosses the celestial equator each March, marking the start of spring in the northern hemisphere. It also contains Van Manen's star, one of the closest white dwarfs, giving a glimpse into the future of stars like our sun. Pisces Austrinus. Pisces Austrinus, the southern fish, is an ancient constellation with roots in Babylonian astronomy. It's home to Fomalhaut, one of the brightest stars in the sky and part of the Autumn Triangle. Fomalhaut gained fame in recent years when astronomers captured the first direct image of a possible exoplanet orbiting it, surrounded by a debris disk. So while Pisces Austrinus may seem like a quiet corner of the sky, it's one of our closest windows into planetary systems beyond our own. Puppies. Puppies, Latin for the stern of a ship, was once part of a giant constellation called Argo Navis, representing the ship of Jason and the Argonauts. Later, Argo was divided into Puppies, the stern, Carina, the keel, and Vela, the sails. Puppies lies along the Milky Way and is filled with open star clusters like M46 and M47. It's also home to the Puppies, a supernova remnant, what's left of a massive star that exploded about 3,700 years ago. Pyxis. Pyxis, the compass, was introduced by 18th century astronomer Nicolas Louis de Lacaille as a nod to navigation tools used by sailors and explorers. It was originally part of the giant Argo Navis constellation, but later became its own standalone group. Though small and faint, Pyxis lies close to the rich band of the Milky Way and contains young stars and stellar nurseries. Interestingly, Pyxis hosts a rare object called the Pyxis Globular Cluster, which may actually be a remnant of another galaxy long ago absorbed by the Milky Way. Reticulum. Reticulum means the net in Latin. Specifically, it refers to the crosshairs of a telescope's eyepiece. Fittingly, it's another modern constellation named by Lacaille to honor scientific instruments. Though it's not bright, Reticulum is valuable in modern astronomy. It contains several distant galaxies and quasars, and its position in the southern sky made it a useful reference point for early observatories in the southern hemisphere. Sagitta. Sagitta, Latin for arrow, is one of the smallest constellations in the sky, yet one of the oldest, catalogued by Ptolemy in the 2nd century. Though its mythology is unclear, it's often said to represent the arrow Hercules used to kill the eagle tormenting Prometheus. Despite its size, Sagitta contains some striking deep sky objects, including M71, a loosely packed globular cluster about 13,000 light-years away, which glimmers like a cosmic spark hidden in the night sky. Sagittarius. Sagittarius, the archer, is one of the most recognizable zodiac constellations, often depicted as a centaur wielding a bow. In the sky, it points its arrow straight at Antares, the heart of Scorpius. But what makes Sagittarius truly extraordinary is what lies at its center, the galactic center, the rotational heart of the Milky Way. Within it is Sagittarius, a star, a supermassive black hole over 4 million times the mass of the Sun. The constellation is filled with nebulae and clusters, like the Lagoon Nebula M8 and the Trifid Nebula M20, making it a favorite for stargazers and astronomers alike. Scorpius. Scorpius, the scorpion, is one of the most dramatic constellations in the sky, with a long curving tail and a glowing red heart, Antares. In myth, the scorpion was sent by Gaia to kill Orion, and to this day, they're never seen in the sky together. When one rises, the other sets. Scorpius is rich in deep sky objects, sitting along the densest part of the Milky Way. It contains open clusters, nebulae, and globular clusters like M4, one of the closest to Earth. Sculptor. Sculptor is a modern constellation introduced in the 18th century by Lacaille, originally named Apparatus Sculptoris, or the Sculptor's Workshop. It honors artistic tools and creativity. Although it lacks bright stars, Sculptor hides incredible treasures. The Sculptor Galaxy, NGC 253, one of the brightest galaxies in the sky beyond the Milky Way. This galaxy is a starburst galaxy, meaning it's forming stars at an exceptionally high rate. Scutum. Scutum, Latin for shield, was created in the 17th century by Polish astronomer Johannes Hevelius, originally named Scutum Sobiesianum, to honor Polish King John III Sobieski. Despite its small size, Scutum contains one of the richest star fields in the sky, the Scutum star cloud, a dense patch of the Milky Way filled with thousands of stars. It hosts the open cluster M11, also known as the Wild Duck Cluster, a beautiful swarm of stars 6,000 light-years away, arranged like a flock in flight. Serpens. Serpens is unique. It's the only constellation divided into two parts. Serpens caput, the head, and Serpens cauda, the tail, both held by the figure of Ophiuchus. Serpens is filled with deep sky objects, including the famous Eagle Nebula, M16, home to the iconic Pillars of Creation, towering clouds of gas and dust, captured in one of the most famous space photographs ever taken by the Hubble telescope. Sextans. Sextans, named after the sextant, is another instrument-inspired constellation created by Lacaille during his exploration of the southern skies. Though it's faint and often overlooked, it has astronomical importance. It contains Sextans A, a dwarf irregular galaxy just beyond the local group and known for actively forming new stars. Taurus. Taurus, the bull, is a zodiac constellation rooted in myth and brilliance. In Greek legend, Taurus is the form Zeus took to carry off Europa across the sea. Its defining feature is the V-shaped Hyades cluster, forming the bull's face, and Aldebaran, a red giant that marks the eye. Also inside Taurus is the Pleiades cluster, the Seven Sisters, a tight group of young blue stars visible even in light-polluted skies. Taurus also hosts the Crab Nebula, M1, the remnant of a supernova observed in 1054 AD, a cosmic explosion that still echoes through time. Telescopium. Telescopium is another constellation from the Enlightenment era, created by Lacaille in the 18th century to honor the telescope, an instrument that revolutionized our understanding of the cosmos. While the constellation itself is faint, it's symbolically powerful, representing a turning point in human curiosity. Deep within Telescopium lies Galaxy Cluster, Abell 3627, part of the Great Attractor, a mysterious gravitational anomaly that seems to be pulling our entire region of the universe toward it. Triangulum. Triangulum, Latin for triangle, is one of the few constellations named purely for its shape. It was recognized by ancient cultures, including the Babylonians and Greeks. Though small, it holds a massive treasure, the Triangulum Galaxy, M33, a spiral galaxy just 2.7 million light-years away and part of our local group. M33 is the third largest galaxy in our neighborhood after Andromeda and the Milky Way, and it's often visible with binoculars under dark skies. Triangulum Australe. The Southern Triangle is a compact constellation in the southern hemisphere, introduced in the late 16th century by Dutch explorers. It mirrors the Northern Triangulum, but is brighter and easier to spot. Its 3 stars form a nearly perfect equilateral triangle, and its brightest, Atria, is a red giant located about 391 light-years away. Though small, Triangulum Australe stands out as a guiding point in the southern sky. Tucana. Tucana, the toucan, was introduced in the 16th century during voyages to the southern seas. While it has no roots in classical mythology, it earned a permanent place in the modern star catalog. What makes Tucana remarkable is that it hosts the Small Magellanic Cloud, a nearby dwarf galaxy just 200,000 light-years away, visible to the naked eye from the southern hemisphere. Tucana is also home to 47 Tucanae, the second brightest globular cluster containing millions of stars tightly packed together in a glowing ball. Ursa Major. Ursa Major, the Great Bear, is one of the most famous and widely recognized constellations. In Greek mythology, it's associated with Callisto, a nymph turned into a bear by Zeus, and later placed in the sky. Its most prominent feature, the Big Dipper, is an asterism that serves as a celestial compass. The 2 outer stars of the Dipper's bowl point directly to Polaris, the North Star. Ursa Major is also rich in galaxies, including M81 and M82, 2 stunning spiral galaxies located just 12 million light-years away. Ursa Minor. Ursa Minor, the little bear, is best known for housing Polaris, the North Star, located at the tip of its tail. In mythology, it's often paired with Ursa Major and linked to the story of Arcas and his mother Callisto, both transformed into bears and placed in the sky by Zeus. The main stars of Ursa Minor form the Little Dipper, a helpful navigation tool for northern observers. Polaris itself is about 433 light-years away and isn't a single star. It's a multiple star system, with a supergiant and at least 2 smaller companions. Vela. Vela, Latin for the sails, was once part of Argo Navis, the massive ship constellation representing Jason and the Argonauts. It was later divided into 3 parts: Puppis, the stern, Carina, the keel, and Vela. Vela lies in a rich region of the Milky Way and is filled with clusters and nebulae. One standout is the Vela supernova remnant, the expanding debris of a star that exploded about 11,000 years ago, still glowing and interacting with the space around it. Virgo. Virgo, the maiden, is one of the largest constellations in the sky and one of the 12 signs of the zodiac. In mythology, she's often associated with Demeter or Astrea, the goddess of justice. Virgo is home to Spica, a brilliant blue-white star about 250 light-years away, and one of the brightest in the night sky. Even more significantly, Virgo contains the Virgo cluster, a massive group of over 1,000 galaxies. It's also home to Messier 87, the galaxy whose black hole was famously imaged for the first time in 2019. Volans. Volans, the flying fish, is a southern constellation introduced in the 16th century during the Age of Exploration. While it has no roots in classical mythology, it represents the exotic creatures sailors encountered on their voyages through southern waters. Volans may be dim, but it harbors deep sky treasures, including several interacting galaxies and part of the Dorado group, a cluster of galaxies gravitationally bound together. Vulpecula. Vulpecula, Latin for the little fox, is a modest northern constellation introduced in the 17th century by Hevelius. Originally called the little fox with the goose, only the fox part remained. Vulpecula is home to the dumbbell nebula M27, the first planetary nebula ever discovered, showing what a sun-like star becomes after it exhausts its fuel. Although faint, Vulpecula carries one of the most vivid reminders that stars don't last forever, but they can go out in style. Apus. Apus, meaning without feet, represents the bird of paradise, a creature once believed to have no legs, always floating in the air. It was introduced in the late 16th century by Dutch navigators charting the southern skies. Within its borders lie distant galaxies and stellar objects, but it's best appreciated as a reminder of how exploration, both earthly and celestial, has shaped our skies. Chameleon. Named after the color-shifting reptile, Chameleon is a small southern constellation introduced by Dutch explorers in the 16th century. It's not tied to myth, but it's scientifically significant. The Chameleon molecular clouds, a group of nearby dark nebulae, are stellar nurseries, where stars are forming just 500 light-years away, making them some of the closest to Earth. Cercinus. Cercinus, Latin for compass, the drafting tool, not the navigational one, was introduced by Lacaille in the 18th century to honor instruments of science and geometry. Although faint, Cercinus is home to Cercinus Galaxy, a Seyfert galaxy only 13 million light-years away, actively forming stars and feeding its central black hole. Horologium. Horologium, the clock, is another of Lacaille's scientific instrument constellations. Though dim, it covers a relatively large area of the southern sky. Its highlight is the Horologium supercluster, one of the largest known galaxy superclusters, stretching across 550 million light-years. It's a cosmic irony. The constellation representing time also holds some of the oldest structures in the universe. Antlia. Antlia, the air pump, was created in the 18th century and named after the device used in early vacuum experiments. Despite its technical name, Antlia rests quietly in the southern sky with no bright stars, but it's home to the Antlia cluster, a relatively nearby cluster of galaxies about 133 million light-years away. Ara. Ara, Latin for the altar, is an ancient southern constellation known since the time of the Greeks. In mythology, it represents the altar where the gods formed an alliance before their battle with the Titans. It lies deep in the Milky Way, filled with star clusters and nebulae. One of its brightest features is NGC 6193, an open cluster illuminating the surrounding gas clouds. Chilum. Chilum, the chisel, is another constellation introduced by Lacaille in the 18th century, named to honor the tools of sculptors and artisans. It's one of the faintest constellations in the sky, with no stars brighter than 4th magnitude, making it a challenge to spot without excellent conditions. Still, within it lies the galaxy NGC 1679, along with several quasars and distant galaxies, quiet reminders that even the dimmest skies are filled with hidden stories. Carina. Carina, Latin for the keel of a ship, is a spectacular southern constellation that was once part of the massive Argo Navis. It was separated into 3 parts, Carina, Puppis, and Vela, for manageability. Carina is home to Canopus, the second brightest star in the night sky, shining 10,000 times brighter than the sun. But the real jewel is the Carina Nebula, a sprawling region of star formation that includes Eta Carinae, a massive, unstable star system expected to go supernova. Columba. Columba, the dove, was added in the 16th century by Dutch navigator Petrus Plancius, possibly representing the dove released by Noah in biblical tradition. It's a simple constellation with few bright stars, but its brightest, Fact, glows with a bluish hue about 270 light-years away. Columba quietly glides beneath Canis Major, a peaceful constellation that reminds us of hope, exploration, and quiet beauty. Coma Berenices. Coma Berenices, or Berenice's hair, is one of the few constellations named after a historical figure, Queen Berenice II of Egypt, who supposedly sacrificed her long hair to the gods for her husband's safe return from war. The gods, impressed, placed her hair in the stars. Though faint, this constellation lies in a rich field of galaxies, including the Coma Cluster, containing over 1,000 galaxies about 300 million light-years away. Coma Berenices also hosts the North Galactic Pole, making it a key reference point in galactic astronomy. Corona Australis. Corona Australis, the Southern Crown, is the southern counterpart to Corona Borealis. In Greek mythology, it's sometimes associated with the wreath worn by the centaur Chiron, or with Bacchus, god of wine. This small but elegant constellation sits near the Milky Way and contains a dark nebula, a region of coal dust that blocks background starlight, visible as a black rift against the glowing galactic backdrop. Dorado. Dorado, the swordfish, is a southern constellation introduced in the 16th century by Dutch explorers. It swims beside other southern sea-themed constellations like Volans and Hydrus. What makes Dorado exceptional is that it hosts the Large Magellanic Cloud, LMC, a dwarf galaxy orbiting the Milky Way. The LMC is visible to the naked eye and is home to the famous Tarantula Nebula, the largest known star-forming region in the local group. Equileus. Equileus, Latin for the little horse, is the second smallest constellation in the sky. It represents the full Celeris, the brother or offspring of Pegasus, depending on the myth. Though faint and lacking bright stars, Equileus is one of the original 48 constellations listed by Ptolemy. Fornax. Fornax, the furnace, was named by Lacaille in the 18th century to honor scientific instruments. Though it lacks bright stars, it plays a big role in modern astronomy. It contains the Fornax cluster of galaxies and part of the Eridanus-Fornax supervoid, a massive, unusually empty region of space. Fornax A, NGC 1316, one of the brightest radio galaxies, lies here, home to intense black hole activity and galaxy mergers. Hydrus. Hydrus, the lesser water snake, is a southern constellation introduced by early navigators. It should not be confused with Hydra, the much larger and older water serpent. Hydrus quietly slithers through southern skies, home to some intriguing stars, including Beta Hydrae, a nearby yellow dwarf about 24 light-years away, Camelopardalis. Camelopardalis, Latin for giraffe, is a large but faint northern constellation introduced in the 17th century by Dutch astronomer Petrus Plancius. Despite its exotic name, it has no ties to classical mythology. It stretches across a wide swath of the sky between Ursa Major and Cassiopeia, but contains mostly dim stars. However, deep within it lie several interesting galaxies and NGC 2403, a spiral galaxy about 8 million light-years away, rich in star-forming regions. Canis Venatici. Canis Venatici, the hunting dogs, was introduced by Hevelius in the 17th century to fill a gap near Ursa Major. In his star maps, these two dogs accompany the herdsman Botas as he chases the Great Bear around the pole. Though small, it's home to some stunning galaxies, including Messier 51, the Whirlpool Galaxy, a textbook example of a spiral galaxy interacting with a companion. Aquila. Aquila, Latin for eagle, soars along the Milky Way and has been known since ancient times. In Greek mythology, Aquila is often identified as the eagle that carried Zeus's thunderbolts, or the one who snatched Ganymede to serve as cupbearer to the gods, a role later commemorated in Aquarius. Its brightest star, Altair, is one of the closest visible stars to Earth, just 16.7 light-years away, and forms one corner of the Summer Triangle, along with Deneb and Vega. Altair rotates incredibly fast, completing a full spin in just under 9 hours. For comparison, our Sun takes about 25 days. This rapid spin causes the star to bulge at the equator. It's not a perfect sphere.